What's up everybody? Today the first repot of this year. I'm gonna do the repot of this beautiful syringa that I have here. I'm gonna place it in this pot that I got at the trophy. And before I get into the repot, I'm gonna show you a recap of some trees that I'm going to be repotting this year. The first tree I want to show you is this Texas. I wanna place in this Japanese pot that I got on the trophy. It's a Yamaki, very nice Japanese pot. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this pot and if you think it will be a nice combination. Of course, this Sabina Juniper. I have two other Sabina Junipers that I will be doing the repot. Probably with Carlos. Shout out to Carlos van der Vaart. Gonna help me with the repotting of this nice material. And this year there is a lot to come. Show you a lot of new things. I'm gonna show you two more trees and then we can start the repot of the syringa. Then I got this beautiful wisteria. It's a new tree here on the channel, and the pot that I got is this one. I think it will be a beautiful combination. And this big Texas, the monster cactus that I did restyling, and I showed you how I designed it. I removed all the wiring this year because it had a very vigorous growth, so the wire was already biting in a lot. And I'm gonna put this tree in this bright red container that I have right here. So let's get started with this tree. I'm gonna put it in this nice pot that I got from the trophy. So what are the tools you're gonna need for this job? Of course, a pot. We're gonna need this fork to trim the roots. This to put underneath the hole of the pot. This mesh is for later on to get the excess soil off. Wire cutter, some wire, and a chopstick. Those are the tools you're gonna need for doing your first repot this year. So what are we going to do first? We're gonna, with the chopstick, I have some moss on the tree. And what I'm going to do is to remove the moss with the chopstick on the trunk and on the soil. So this tree is a Syringa vulgaris. Not sure if I pronounce it correctly, but it's a tree that I got from during an auction. I got as a present from one of the members of my Bonsai club, and it was planted in a slanted style, and it had like a weird root coming out, but I planted upright because I like the movement, slightly movement that this tree has, and we're gonna make it kind of literati style and with this nice pot, and it produces beautiful white flowers, which I'm not going to let it happen this year because I want to develop more ramification. So I'm also at the end going to remove all the flower buds. Alright, now that I removed the moss on top of it, I'm gonna go to the second step, which is getting the tree loose into the pot. This tree is already here since 2018, so that's already more than 5 years. So the tree is really root bound, so therefore I'm gonna use this hook on the side like this to get the tree loosen. And then you're going to do this all around the container, because you don't want to pull the tree out of the pot. You want to really just make sure everything is loosened up. Alright. And then I'm gonna tilt the tree to the side and cut the wire where the tree is being held. Let me show you. This way you have the tree loose. So as you can see, the tree is completely root bound. So I'm gonna use another tool to get the root mat out of this tree. So I'm gonna use a sharp paint scraper to remove the root mat that's underneath the tree. Put this pot aside. Place the tree like this. And this with just a little force, I'm already going through it. So after we remove the root mat underneath the tree, like I'm showing you right here, we can continue with the next step in our repot. So we won't need this tool anymore. So the next step will be using the chopstick to go and remove around on the top, get the akadama, so the soil on top that's really dense, loosen up the soil that's on top of the tree. And we were gonna go all around here because we have to remove a significant amount of roots to fit in the new pot. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and I will come back to you once I am done with the chopsticking. So now I'm done with the chopsticking. The root ball should look a little bit like this, and this is a tree that is already a very long time in a bonsai pot, so that's why you get this massive root mat on top of root mat. So you try to loosen it up as much as possible, but it will still be like a stir of roots that is really tidy, and this is also what you get once you're gonna cultivate, especially deciduous tree, for a longer period of time. This is what you will achieve in a longer period when the tree is in your pot. So now I'm gonna clean this mess up and I'm gonna bring the pot. Alright, now that I prepared the pot, I can pull the first layer of aeration that I told you, which is a mix of pumice and akadama that I already prepared before. So now that I have this first layer on it, I will put see where the tree more or less is gonna be situated and where I want this tree is gonna be sitting here for a long time, so you want to do it this right. So you want to know where the front of the pot will be. So now I pull the wires between the root mesh so that we have some, so we can apply a little bit force when we're gonna fixate the tree. So before you tie the tree, you're gonna fill in the gaps with akadama. And here you can also use a chopstick. So now that we fill the gaps with akadama, the tree is already staying solid on the pot. I can now fixate the tree, and I will double check if the front is correctly. The tree, check also on the side, the tree is leaning correctly forward. Now I can fixate the tree. Make sure you check underneath the pot that there is no gap. And now the tree is completely solid. And cut the excess wire. And the last step will be to finish up filling the akadama and completing the soil. So when I complete the akadama, filling in all the gaps, I will place some sphagnum moss on top of it. I'm gonna spray a little bit, and then I'm going to water the whole tree so that the tree is then finished, and then I will show you the end result. So the first repot of the year is a fact. Just finished watering the tree, and as you can see here, I placed the last step, the layer of sphagnum moss, and I mix it up with the moss that was already that I removed earlier from the tree. Let me know in the comments what you think of this repot. Personally, I really like the contrast, especially with the flowers, and I will remove the flowers as a last step. And don't forget the like, and there is a lot more to come this season, this year. So subscribe, and I see you next time in Bonsai Den Haag.